Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss about Content Addressable Memory or CAM. It is also known as Associative Memory. So what is a CAM? It is a memory unit accessed by its content. That means when the user supplies data word, then the associative memory or CAM searches its entire memory, and if the data word is found, it returns the list of addresses where the data word was located. So let's come to this block diagram. If this is a block diagram of CAM, user is giving content or value as input to the CAM. Then the CAM searches its entire memory. Suppose there are 100 memory locations in the CAM. It is memory location 1, memory location 2 up to this 100. Then the CAM searches its entire memory starting from 1 to 100 in one single cycle, and it finds out at which memory location this content or value is located, or at which memory location the content or value is to be stored. And the memory location can be one or more. If there is only one memory location that matches with the address of the content, then CAM returns that memory location. And if there are more than one memory location, that means suppose the address of the content or value is found at memory location 2, at memory location 6, at memory location 10, and at memory location 12. Then the CAM returns the list of all the memory locations or the list of addresses where the data word was located. So this is the basic use or basic working principle of a CAM. Now, what is the difference between a CAM and a RAM? You know that in case of RAM or in case of ROM, first the address is sent from the CPU to the ROM or RAM, and the content stored in that corresponding address is retrieved. Or in case of storing a data in RAM, the CPU sends the address at where we have to store the data, and also the CPU sends the data to the RAM. Then RAM has both the address and both the data with it, so it stores that data sent from the CPU to that address location sent from the CPU. So if this is a block diagram of RAM, it can be DRAM, or that means dynamic RAM, or SRAM, means static RAM. So for any kind of RAM, may it be dynamic or static, first CPU sends the address, then the data or the content stored in that particular address is retrieved from the RAM. But in case of CAM or CAM, the thing is just opposite. Here the content or value is passed as the input to the CAM, and in one single cycle, the entire memory location is searched and it returns the list of addresses where the content is found. So it returns some memory address. And in case of RAM, the total procedure, that means the address is passed to the RAM and the data found in that corresponding address is retrieved, the total procedure is performed in a number of cycles. But in case of CAM, only a single cycle is required to complete the whole procedure. So we can say that the speed of CAM is very high, and the time required to find an item stored in memory can be reduced considerably if the stored data can be identified for access by the content of data itself rather than by an address. So this type of memory is accessed simultaneously and in parallel on the basis of data content rather than by specific address or location. That means if suppose this is a CAM, it has 100 memory locations, and we are giving a 4-bit data 1010. Now this 4-bit data, each bit will be given simultaneously and all the memory locations will be searched simultaneously, or all the memory locations will be searched in parallel. So the total time for processing, the total time to find out the memory address for that corresponding value is reduced. Now what is the purpose to use this CAM? For example, you can say that in a router we can use CAM. Like if we want to send some message or some email from a source to a destination, then between the source and destination we have an intermediate node, that is router. Now first, this message or email, that is broken down into bytes, and suppose 100 bytes constitute one packet. Now each packet is sent individually across the network to the router. So suppose packet, that means 100 bytes of data, that is stored that is sent to the router. Okay, then router will collect the packets and it will send the packets to the exact port or exact destination. So we can say that this router serves as the intermediate between the source and the destination. Okay. And this router has a CAM inside it. because we know that CAM has some data value or content as input, and it will find out the address of that data, and it will send that packet to its corresponding address location or corresponding destination. Okay. Now coming to the write operation and read operation of CAM. As you know, in case of RAM, what happens? In case of RAM, first the address is sent from the CPU to the RAM, and also the data is sent from the CPU to the RAM, and then the RAM stores the data to that corresponding address that was sent from the CPU. But what happens in case of CAM? If we want to store a data into a CAM, then the data is stored in CAM in random fashion. That means the data can be written into the first empty location in the CAM. When we send our data as input to the CAM, then the data will find out the first empty location, and whenever or wherever it finds the empty location, it will get stored. So we don't need to send any specific address to the CAM to store that particular data into that address. Okay, this is a very important point regarding CAM. And coming to the read operation, in case of read operation, that I have already discussed, that the content or the value is sent to the CAM, and then this content or value will have some address associated with it, like the message or email, it will have some address associated with it, and the CAM will find out, or CAM will matches that address of the content with each of its address locations, and then it will return the corresponding address on the list of addresses. Okay. Now coming to the disadvantages of CAM. There are some disadvantages, like CAM will have high cost and high density. Why? Because this CAM will have some additional circuitry. If we compare the construction of CAM with RAM, we can find out that the CAM will have all the components as of RAM, but as the CAM compares the memory of the content or value with its memory locations, so it will have a compare cell, and that compare cell will consist of a few number of MOSFETs, and due to the presence of some additional MOSFETs, the cost of the CAM will be high, and also it will have high density. Another disadvantage of CAM is its power efficiency, as because in a single cycle it has to compare all of its memory locations with the memory location of the value or content, so its power efficiency will be high. Sorry, its power efficiency will be low. That is another disadvantage of CAM. Now coming to the applications of CAM. CAM has several applications, like In case of network switching, where we have to find out the MAC address, we require CAM. Also in case of database engines and also in case of artificial neural networks, we require CAM. Okay, thank you.